Hello everybody. Welcome to, I honestly don't even really know what this video is. I have not put away my laundry for like a month. And I wish I was exaggerating, but it's actually been a whole month. And for whatever reason, I just cannot seem to find the motivation to get myself to just sit down or stand up and put my laundry away in my closet so that I can actually get dressed properly in the morning. So today I decided that I would finally get myself to put this laundry away. I'm trying to get my life together and I feel like this is my first step and I needed to do this in a creative way. So I decided that I'm gonna do this while answering some questions that you guys sent in about random things. I don't even know. I'm just gonna go through the questions you sent me on Instagram, answer them, and put away my laundry and pretend like I know what I'm doing with my life and that I'm a real adult. I literally have my whole laundry basket right here that I can't lift because one, I'm weak, and two, it's really heavy. But do you see? Yeah, that's all of my clothing. It's all clean. I just haven't put it in my closet, which is like half the part of doing your laundry. So that's what we're gonna do today as I answer some of your questions. Is this video quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever made? Yes, but am I still gonna make it? Yes, because I don't know. This is what I feel like doing right now. I also kind of felt like since I've been away for a while and there are more people here now, I feel like some of you don't actually know me very well and know my personality very well. You just know the books I like and the books I recommend. So I thought about doing like something more personal, and what's more personal than watching someone put their laundry away in their closet? I can't think of anything. So let's open my closet, only halfway because I'm not showing you the other side. But here we go. I do have a couple of things already hung up because I haven't worn these, so they're not dirty. And I have all of these empty hangers, and then I don't know how well you can see, but there's like a shelf here where I put my other stuff. So yeah, let's get into the questions and the hanging and folding of the clothes. I feel like the first question I should answer, because this is probably going to take a while anyway, is the one that I got the most frequently, which is, how are you? Are you okay? How are you? Like, really? And just variations of, how am I doing? And am I okay? I feel like that's a fairly impossible question to answer. I feel like it's something that I ask my friends all the time. My friends ask me all the time. I think people ask this question of each other all the time. And do any of us ever really give honest answers to that question? Like when someone asks you, are you okay? Doesn't everyone pretty much always say fine? And that's about it. Nobody's ever like, you know, like I'm really struggling and my life is not going in the direction I want it to, and I'm really afraid, or I'm really sad or depressed, or like whatever. Nobody really says that. Everyone just always says I'm fine. So I'm gonna do my best to answer this question as honestly as I possibly can. I feel like right now I am actually okay. That doesn't mean I'm doing great, but I don't feel like I'm doing terribly. If you had asked me this question like literally 3 days ago, I would have told you that my life is over and that everything's a disaster. But today it's not. This year has been, I don't even have like words to describe it because it's quite literally been all over the place. I have not been able to find any sort of stability. Like every time I find some stability in my life, I feel like it all comes crashing down again and I don't know what to do with myself. And then I'm just caught in this cycle of feeling like I might be doing better and then crashing down again and feeling like I might be doing better and crashing down again. And I feel like at this point in time, I've kind of broken out of it a little bit. I think for the first time, I don't feel quite like I'm stuck because I feel like instead of trying to change everything all at once, which has always been a problem for me, I'm just taking steps, like small steps, to improve things about my life and myself and my mental health and just everything. And that's been really helpful for me. I don't really know how to describe that other than I feel like if things are going wrong, I have to either solve the problem immediately or fix it all at once. Like I need to know the answer to every single problem and fix all of it at one time. Like I can't just focus on one thing and like fix that first and then move on to other stuff. But this time I feel like I'm allowing myself to take smaller steps towards getting better. And I mean small. I don't mean like I'm making a decision about one thing and focusing on that only. I mean like I'm making an effort to make my bed every morning and that has been like improving my mood, and that's literally one tiny thing I can do to make myself feel better. So yeah, to answer the question, how am I? I am not as good as I could be, but I'm not as bad as I've been, and I finally feel like I can get to a place where I won't be stuck in this endless cycle anymore, because I don't feel like I have to do everything all at one time. I can take things literally a day at a time, and if that's too big, an hour at a time, and even a minute at a time. So yeah, I don't really know how well that answers the question, but again, I feel like we don't really answer that question very honestly that often, so that's what I'm trying to do. I folded all of my clothes on top of my phone, so now I can't look at the questions. What is something recent that you've learned about yourself? So as many of you know, I'm in treatment, so I go to therapy literally 3 times a week. So I feel like I'm constantly learning new things about myself and constantly working on myself. Also, can I just say, like, therapy that often can get really overwhelming. Like, there are periods of time where I feel like I need it and more, and then there are other times where I'm like, I am so done talking about myself, even though I'm literally talking about myself in this video. So but this is different. If you've ever been in therapy, like, you know, like, it's just so much emotional energy that you're spending all at once. I come back and I'm exhausted and I immediately just fall asleep. But as for something recent, I feel like I always kind of knew this, but I just didn't really want to accept it about myself, which I feel like is a big part of learning new things about yourself, is actually just accepting that these are facts about you. Because I feel like for the most part, we really know a lot about ourselves. We just don't want to accept certain things. But I feel like a recent thing for me is definitely, I did not realize how often I have like very all or nothing thoughts. Again, I knew this was like something that I do like in general, but I didn't realize like how much it impacted my life. And what I mean by all or nothing, it's like black and white thinking. Like, in my mind, certain things are just like either it's this way or it's that way, and that's it. There's no gray area in between. Like, you can't take small steps to improve your life. Like, you have to fix everything at once or everything's gonna fall apart, to use an example from earlier. Yeah, I did not realize like how much I do that with everything in my life. I've had people around me who are very much like that, and I was like, oh, I'm not like them, because I've seen the way that they think about things and the decisions they make, the way they make decisions, and I knew I wasn't like that. But it doesn't mean that I don't also think that way. It's just in slightly different ways or about slightly different things. It's something I'm definitely like trying to work on in myself, like I said earlier, because I don't think it gets you anywhere. I think it gets you caught in these cycles. So yeah, I just tend to think that way about so much, too much. It's really not healthy. Oh, I feel like this is a good question for what I'm doing right now. Where do you like to shop for clothes, and favorite stores? I really love clothes. I'm actually not as into fashion as I like used to be when I was younger, but I kind of want to get back into it because I feel like I've like lost my style, and my clothes don't really represent my style as much as I want them to. Like, certain pieces definitely do, but everything does not, and I really just miss having like clothes I really, really love. And that's like actually something I've been trying to work on when I go shopping. Where I get my clothes kind of varies. When I was younger, I was like obsessed with Free People. I think like 90% of my closet was just Free People because I just loved their clothes. Also, my style was heavily influenced by the TV I watched. Like, I watched a lot of Pretty Little Liars, and I would buy, like, if I could find it, the exact dresses or shirts or whatever that they would wear on that show. I had like a couple of the exact ones, and they were my favorite pieces. I had to toss them out somewhat recently because they don't fit me anymore, because I was 16 when I was wearing those. Yeah, I loved Free People, and I still do like a lot of their stuff. I still have some of their stuff, but I don't shop too much from them anymore. One, because they're not very ethical or sustainable, and two, they're expensive. So now I kind of feel like I buy my clothes from a bunch of different stores and like different brands. I really like Reformation. I just like kind of recently got more into them because my sister's super into them. I'm not a fan of their jeans because they just don't fit me well and I'm not comfortable in them, but I do really love their dresses. Again, they're super expensive, but I'm okay with the higher price tag for certain things, especially because they are more ethical and sustainable, and also because I just like the way they fit. So like, if it's something that is more of a splurge, I'm okay with that. If it's something I really, really love, because I know it's something I'm going to keep for a long time. Speaking of Reformation, I literally have this dress from them, which is, I think, my favorite article of clothing that I own. I love it so much, and it was way too expensive, but I adore it, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of it because I feel comfortable in it and I feel pretty in it, so I like it, and I think it was worth it. I actually usually shop from Nordstrom. If you were wondering where I get most of my clothes, that's where I get most of my clothes, especially because they have like a variety of brands. Reformation is my current favorite one, but I can't buy too much from them because, again, too expensive. So I got a bunch of questions asking me to talk some more about K-pop, like if I'm into any other K-pop groups or anything like that. If you didn't know, which I can't imagine that you don't because I do not shut up about it anymore, I somewhat recently got into BTS. It's been like 5 months or something at this point, so it's been a while, and I don't stop talking about it. I made a whole video about it. I have like too many albums, but ever since then, people have been constantly messaging me, asking me if I listen to any other K-pop, if I'm going to listen to any other K-pop, or if I only like BTS. So for those of you who were curious, I will answer your questions now. For K-pop, I am pretty much essentially only into BTS as a group. I don't really listen to other groups very much. I wouldn't say like I stan anyone else. I do listen to some other songs that I like I have a whole K-pop playlist that I made on Spotify of just some K-pop songs that I've enjoyed, but I don't really follow anyone else, and I wouldn't say I'm really into any other groups or even solo artists, except for Chungha. I love Chungha. Her music is so great. I love her new album, Flourishing. It's wonderful. So yeah, I really, really like her music, but other than that, I don't listen to anyone like exclusively. I just listen here and there, but I do enjoy other K-pop. It's not like I don't like it. Again, like I said, I don't really consider myself like a K-pop fan, not because I don't like it, but just because I don't feel like I listen to enough of it to consider myself that. But if you guys are interested in the other songs that I have enjoyed, I can leave my playlist linked in the description box if you want to check it out. Why is this so complicated? It's because it's 2 layers. So another thing I got a lot of questions about is if I'm in school, what my major is, if I'm planning to go back to school, just a lot of college related questions. And to answer those, I am not currently in school. I was actually planning on going back this semester, but that was before I went back into treatment. So I am not currently going to school, and I do plan to go back in the future, but I'm not sure when that will be. I don't know if it's near future or somewhat distant future, but I am just trying to prioritize my own health and make sure that when I do go back, I'm in a place that I can mentally, physically handle what school requires of me. So yeah, it's a hard decision to decide to take time off or to not go back or whatever. People have to make a lot of really tough decisions when it comes to school and your health, and it's not easy to make those decisions, but it's really important, I think, to put your health first. And I'm really trying to focus on that and learn that that's okay, and that's actually the best thing to do for me. That's a really hard thing for me to talk about. So yeah, we're gonna move on to another question. What's your Enneagram type? I am a type 3 with a 4 wing, which I have like a hard time with that. I feel like people are really solid in their Enneagram, like they feel comfortable with it and they feel like they really identify with their Enneagram. I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm so in between so many of them, so I have a hard time with it. The one thing I really do identify with in terms of the type 3 Enneagram is the like underlying feeling of feeling unworthy and like not good enough, and that really comes out in the Sleeping at Last song. Sleeping at Last, the band did like a series of songs for the Enneagram types, so they have a song for each type, and the type 3 song is absolutely my favorite one. Like I listened to that and cried for the first time. I was like, yeah, I'm a 3. I have a very strong 4 wing for anyone who cares about the Enneagram, because I know a lot of people really do. I do like the Enneagram, and I'm glad people find a lot of like comfort and identify with it a lot, but I don't feel that way all the time with mine. Some days I'm very much a 4, some days I'm very much a 3, sometimes I'm honestly a 2, and other times I'm a 6. So yeah. Also, I didn't really explain what the Enneagram is in case you don't know. The Enneagram is a personality test that you can take. It's kind of like the Myers-Briggs personality type, but it's a little bit more specific and like smaller. There are fewer. It's out of 16, it's only 9. So yeah, that's what the Enneagram is if you didn't know. Also, a question I got a lot is what's my Myers-Briggs type, which is ENFJ, in case you were wondering. If there was one thing you could tell your younger self, what would it be? That is such a hard question. This is gonna get like kind of deep, and like don't mind me if I start tearing up because I have a really hard time talking about my younger self, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I feel like I live a lot of my life trying to be the person that younger me needed. And yeah, why am I tearing up over this? I saw this quote like years ago, like 2012 Tumblr era. I don't even remember what it is. Like I can't find it for the life of me, but it was something along the lines of do this for her, signed like your 8-year-old self. Because if you remember the way that Tumblr used to do quotes, it would have like the quote in big text and then you could sign it by anyone, and people would do like all this like hipster stuff with it. 2012 Tumblr era was like just a different world. But anyway, the quote was something along the lines of like, do this for her. And it meant like your younger self. I remember seeing that like when I was like, I don't know how old I was in 2012, 14, 15, something like that. And I just like started sobbing. There's just something about the idea of being that person for my younger self that makes me very emotional. And honestly, it's like very motivating for me. I feel like I can't pick just like one thing that I would want my younger self to know or to tell my younger self. But right now, I feel like I would just tell her, you don't have to be perfect. I feel like I spent my entire childhood, like no exaggeration, my whole childhood desperately trying to be this perfect person. And it gets you nowhere. It really, really and truly only makes you miserable. And I feel like I was told that so often as a kid, but like if I had known that, like if me now had told me then that you don't have to be perfect, like it's really not worth it. It's not going to bring you any joy. It's not going to improve your life. It's really only going to make everything so much harder. I feel like I needed somebody to tell me that. I'm dropping all my clothes. I feel like I really just needed someone to tell me that, like someone that I believed and trusted. I needed to hear that from me, essentially. It doesn't matter how many times somebody else tells you, you don't need to be perfect, you're good enough, you're beautiful, you're this or that or whatever. You're not gonna believe it until you have like proof for yourself that you don't have to be perfect from yourself. Like it all comes from within you, which is such a hard concept to grasp. And it took me so long to like actually understand that. And just because I understand it doesn't mean I'm great at it, but I do understand it now. And yeah, I feel like younger me desperately needed to hear that. Do you feel pressure to act like someone different when you're making videos versus everyday life? This is actually a really aptly timed question because this was something I was just talking about with a lot of people in my life actually, and something I was journaling about and having a whole emotional breakdown over. Because the thing for me is I don't feel like I'm a different person in my videos, but when I watch my videos, I feel like the person I see on the screen is not someone I can be. And I don't really know how to explain that properly. When I see myself on the screen, I feel like that person is good and inspirational and passionate and someone I want to be, but I don't feel like I am her, even though that's not true because I genuinely don't feel like I'm fake in my videos. I feel like I'm being myself, but for whatever reason, when I'm not on the screen, I feel like she's unattainable. In some ways, it genuinely feels like I'm two different people, and not that one isn't, sorry, I just distracted myself. But as I was saying, I do feel like it's two different people, but not because one isn't a real version of me. One of them is just the best parts of me that I get to like curate and put out, versus the one who gets to be a mess and a disaster. And so it feels like the good parts of me and the bad parts of me, or the happy parts of me and the unhappy parts of me, are almost separated. Yeah, it's very confusing. It's very, very hard to deal with sometimes. And like I said, like this is something I very recently had like a whole emotional breakdown about. But yeah, sometimes I watch my own videos and I'm like, I know who she is, but I can't be her. And I don't know how to be her. So yeah, it's something that I'm working on and trying to understand that I can bring those two parts of me together and that she is not separate from me. Also, side note that is BTS related, but also I promise still related to this topic. I had this whole emotional breakdown about this, like journaled about it, everything, just was freaking out. Like 2 days before Jungkook released his excerpt of Decalcomania. So yeah, as you can imagine, I kind of lost my mind and I have not stopped listening to that like 1 minute excerpt of that song on repeat for weeks ever since it came out. That's how that's going. Anyway, that got super deep and now I'm feeling uncomfortable, so we're gonna move on to a lighter question. Okay, not much of a lighter question, but somewhat of a lighter question. I got lots of questions about self-care and like motivation from day to day and stuff like that. And this is genuinely something I struggle with all the time. Self-care is really hard for me. It's because for me, I have a really difficult time doing anything that I view as caring for myself because I like to self-sabotage and like all this stuff. that's not relevant at this point. Point is, I have a really hard time with self-care to the point where it's genuinely difficult for me to like be comfortable. Like it's not easy for me to sit down and just do a face mask, which for other people can be very easy, but for me, and I'm sure plenty of other people, it's not easy to just sit down and do a face mask or anything that simple. So what I've found that's been really helpful for me in terms of doing self-care and being more like proactive about it. So if you're like me, I definitely recommend trying this. But what I've done is shifted my view of self-care from care to work, which may not be productive in the long run, but at least for now it's working for me. I've completely shifted my view. So now when I know I need to do some like physical self-care, like I need to do my skincare routine or do a face mask or paint my nails or something that's like self-soothing and also just like relaxing for me, I have to like force myself to do it to the point where it genuinely like feels like work for me. And then it gets to a point where I start to feel more comfortable with it. And that's what I found to be helpful. In terms of motivation, I like still very much struggle day to day, especially when you're like struggling with your mental health. Like it just takes a lot out of you. So it's really hard to be motivated, especially when you're like going back to the Enneagram. If I'm a type 3, I feel like I constantly need to be productive, and like if I'm not productive, I'm unworthy and that's not good enough. So obviously feeling unmotivated feels extremely awful when you like to be a productive person. But one thing that I've genuinely been doing that's like actually helping me, which if you had told me this like a year ago, I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's bullshit. I don't care like what you tell me, that's not gonna help me. But I have come around and it definitely does help me now. And that is doing yoga every morning. I used to do yoga like a few years ago fairly consistently, and it was really, really nice for me. Like it was just very helpful to be grounded and like more mindful, because meditation I have tried and sometimes it works and sometimes it really doesn't. But with yoga, I feel like you get that meditation and that mindfulness out of it, but I also need to be like doing something physically with my body. So that aspect of it really helps me. I have just come to love yoga. I do yoga every single morning for only about 5 to 10 minutes. I have a somewhat difficult relationship with exercise because of my eating disorder, but I have found that with yoga, I don't have to think of it as exercise because I think of it as mindfulness. That's what's helped me like reframe it in my head, but I love it. So I found that that's really helpful to start my day off and give me some motivation in the morning, but it doesn't work every day. Again, it's just like baby steps. You can't expect to start doing it and to have it fix all of your problems immediately and suddenly give you all the motivation in the world, because that's just not realistic and that's not going to happen. But just taking small steps and doing things that actively help you improve your mood or get your motivation up, just little by little, definitely helps in the long run. All right, so I think that's actually the last question I'm going to answer. As you can clearly tell, I still have a ton of laundry to put away. I do have a bunch of folded stuff up here too, so like I did do more than this may make it seem, but I still have a lot of stuff in my basket left. But I feel like I answered like a decent number of questions, and we went kind of in depth with some existential, abstract questions. Went probably a little bit too in depth with some questions here and there again, but what's new with me? But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. I'm not sure how enjoyable it was to watch me put my laundry away and answer questions. I don't really know what possessed me to make this. Again, I'm just trying to revive my creativity, and I know this has nothing to do with books or any of the content I really regularly post on my channel, but like I said earlier, I am trying to like blend together the me outside of the screen and the me on the screen. And honestly, answering questions and putting away my clothes feels like a good blend of that for me. I don't know why that's how my brain works, but that is just how I have put this together. So yeah, I hope it was at least somewhat enjoyable for you to watch. If there are any other types of videos that you would like to see that are kind of like more personal like this, I guess, please do let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to make them. I feel like this is something I kind of want to incorporate more regularly into my channel. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this. If you stuck through the end, I really love and appreciate you. Please go do something nice and caring for yourself. You deserve it. Even if you didn't make it through the end of this video, but then you wouldn't hear me saying that. So I should have probably said that at the beginning of the video. Anyway, just take care of yourselves. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social media, all my links are in the description box as always. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.